Welcome to Using iPads with Insight. This is Chad Moore with Dukane Audio Visual. My contact information is there on the screen. I'd love to have you get in touch with me any way you like. And my email is always a good way, or you can call me. And then you can access the application at go.conveyinsight.com. As I run through these first few slides here, if you have another device handy besides what you're watching this webinar on, you can go ahead and pull that up and in the browser enter that link, and you'll be ready to sign in as a student and participate. Well, what in the world is Convey Insight all about? It's simply about engagement and students wanting to respond, wanting to get involved in the process, and using their device. The student, of course, has a phone, iPads, or other tablets are quickly becoming ubiquitous across the landscape of K-12 and higher education. And we want to show how Convey Insight can work for both students and teachers in this environment. You can use them for quizzing, of course. You can use them for surveys. You can use them for full-blown tests. You can simply use them to connect your students. One of the great things about Convey Insight is that the students simply pull out their browser-equipped device, and they can either snap a QR code or simply type in the URL or access a bookmark on their page and log into the session. There is no app to download, no app to install, and no app to manage. This is really helpful if you are doing an iPad deployment or any kind of a tablet deployment. It's one less piece of the puzzle that you have to try and manage and make sure it's on the right tablets. As long as the students have access to the browser on the device and can get to the internet, and you've got the Wi-Fi deployed for them to access to use it, they can participate. Same thing for the teachers. So you'll want to get your devices out and get ready to go. As we said, it's time to take a poll, and we're going to run through some questions here. So make sure that you've got your device out and you go to that go.conveyinsight.com web address. I'm going to switch out of my presentation mode here and switch over to my browser. I'm using a McIntosh today. You could be doing this with a PC, or you could be doing this with an iPad. But it's a lot easier to do this presentation via a computer than it is via an iPad. So that's why I'm using the Macintosh with a Safari browser. This could be done using an iPad with Safari browser. This is what go.conveyinsight.com looks like. You've got 4 panels: Answer, Ask, View, and Insight. The students, once going here, are going to click on the Answer tab, and I'll show you. If you click on that, it brings you simply to the virtual responder login screen. And we're going to supply you with a classroom ID that is supplied by the application. And then if a student has a student ID and you're using a named roster, they would enter their student ID there. Those are the only 2 pieces of information required to actually, for a student to get into Convey Insight, are just those 2 pieces of information. And if you're doing anonymous polling, they leave it blank and just simply enter the classroom ID. So let's jump into that. The teacher is going to click on the Ask. This is where I'm going to go right here. I'm going to be able to ask. And if you have another computer in the room that is connected to your in-room projector, and you want to be able to show graphics, pictures, illustrations that are connected to your questions up on the screen, you would click on the View icon. I'm going to represent that with 2 different browser tabs. If you notice here, I've clicked on the View icon and have at the login screen for the viewer. But I've got to get the polling session up and running first. So I'm going to click on the Ask icon, and we're going to let that load up here. I'm already authenticated. I've got 4 different anonymous rosters presented to me. I can use them of different varying numbers. And I've got 3 named rosters here as well. So if I knew what I was wanting, I could actually get a preview here. These are my students, and these are their ID numbers. The ID numbers are typically taken right from a student information system. And I want to make a point of this. Again, Convey Insight is not just an anonymous polling tool. You can use your specific rosters for your classes to get data that is tied to students so that you can record grades, you can use it to gauge improvement, progress, all of those important checkpoints and benchmarks as you go through your year. Convey Insight provides that information to you. How do you get that set up? We'll talk about that a little later, Suffice it to say that you can take an file from your student information system and upload it right into Convey Insight so that those rosters are there as soon as the teacher logs in to his or her account. They're there and available. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to simply choose an anonymous class of 30 here. And I'm going to go over to the playlist tab. So here I hit the back button. I chose my roster, and now I'm going to hit next. And now these are all the different playlists. And playlists are simply groups of questions or an answer key. You can create all of those online, and again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Today, I want to choose questions from a couple of different playlists. The first one I want to do is from my web demo questions, and then down here at the bottom, I want to choose my V8 webinar features webinar questions. So those are the questions I want to choose, and you'll notice that there's 7 questions in this one, and there's 7 questions in that one. Not intentional. If I want, I can actually get a preview of these. I can click on this. If I'm not sure what playlist I'm looking at, does it have the right questions in it, I can pull that up and I get a carousel view there looking at that. Yep, that is the playlist I want. You've also got search options up here. You can filter, you can search by department, subject, grade, etc. Now these questions are stored, once again, in the cloud, and they are available and accessible to everybody within your organization. That would be within a particular school district or a particular school. So if you've got somebody that's a real expert in 10th grade math and wants to create a bunch of questions and put them up there, all the 10th grade math teachers could have access to those. It could be done for history or grammar or anything like that. All right, we've got questions. We've got a roster. Let's go ahead and get this session started here. So if you are logged in, or if you're at the login screen for students, you can, I'm going to go ahead and start the session here. And here is your login information. It's 422-672. Now, if you're watching this on a recording, this polling session is not going to be live anymore. You're not going to be able to participate in this session. You're just going to have to watch and see what happens. So in that instance, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over here and I'm going to open up one more tab. And I'm going to do a one here with us, 422-672, and we're going to get it logged in. Okay, so there it was. I logged in. I see what room I'm in. I see the session name with my teacher. If I was a student, instead of being anonymous, it would have my student ID and my name right here, so I could verify that I'm at the right spot. I'm in the right class if I want to have all of that information there. Now, you'll notice there's a tab up here called Question Pool. All of the questions that I selected have been dumped into the question pool here. And if I want to, I can select all of them to get them ready to go. If I want to, I can change the orders. I preview these questions I'm about to poll. If I want to move them, I can simply drag and drop their order to change their order. If there's a question that I don't want after looking at it, I can just say, you know, I really don't want that one. I can just exit, and it eliminates it from the question pool. It does not take it out of the playlist. It just takes it out of the question pool for this polling session. If I wanted to choose a given percentage, I could choose a percentage of questions to give a random percentage again, or I can select them all in there, which we'll go ahead and do right now. So I've got 13 questions, as you can see, selected up here and ready to go. And I have a preview of what my first 3 questions are going to be over here on the left. Now, the view I'm looking at right now is what a teacher would see on his or her iPad if they logged in to control the session. This is not a view that the students would see. Okay, the students would not see this view. A couple things that are important. As a teacher, I can see who signed in. Of my class of 30, I can see who hasn't signed in, and I can see who has signed in. That's private information to me, and it lets me take control of my class. I can go and talk to those students, make sure they get signed in that process. Over here in the, I'm going to copy that student ID here, and this is the viewer. From the viewer link, I'm going to go ahead and click sign in, and we're going to get this one up and going. And now it has going to also wait, but here is the QR code that would be displayed up on a projector or a flat panel display in the meeting room for all the students to see, or online like we're doing right now. But this is a private view. Imagine you're the teacher and you're walking around the room and you've got this view on your iPad. You're not having to sit at your computer and do this. You can roam around the room, and you've got a preview of the 3 questions that are going to be coming up here at the start. And as your students get logged in, you're ready to go. And so we're going to go ahead and start polling that first question. So here it is. There's been one president born on July 4th. Who was it? And we've got 4 choices there. Now, if you are have a responder and you're participating, you can go ahead and key in your response. You'll see it there. I want to click over here on the tab. This is the student view. This is what the student sees on his or her iPad or phone or iPod Touch or Android tablet or Galaxy Tab or whatever it may be. And so I could choose a response here, and I can submit my answer. And I get instant feedback as a student. Oh, I didn't get it right. I'm bummed. I can go back over here, and I can see that, again, private view as a teacher, signed in. I can see what my sign-in is. Now, of the 3 who've signed in, I have 1 student who has yet to respond. And I can see that. I go, oh, it live updated. That student just responded right there. And now I've got a correct count over here. I can drill in, again, privately, and I can see that I've got an even response distribution, which indicates complete guessing on the part of this class. Yeah, 33% of the class got it right. That's not good. We need to review our presidential history and presidential trivia facts here. In history facts, if I want to, I can even annotate live with my finger on the iPad right over the top of this. And over here on the view application, this is projected up on the screen in the classroom. That live annotation is taken care of and replicated. So we could work out a problem on the screen by my hand. I can be walking around with my iPad. Students in the class can see it up on the screen. They also have access. If I've got somebody at that computer, they could click on, these are live elements over here as well. They could see who has and hasn't responded. They can see what the response graph is. These are available to them as well. All right, so we're good. We're excited. We've reviewed this question. I want to move to my next question. I simply click the next button, and we've moved into our next question. So this is a multiple answer option. Put the states in order from first to last to ratify the U.S. Constitution. Let me click over to a student view. This is what a student would see, and so they could put them in order, something like this. Let's say that they think California was in there early. If they decide, no, I don't want to do that, I can clear it. Or I can come in and do it again. That one's not quite right either. I think I want to go Delaware, Virginia, Florida, California. There we go. And I'm going to submit. Hey, I got it right. So the student was able to mix and match. And then this is, once you answer, you're shown the correct answer. And now I do not have the opportunity to correct my answer as a student. If you would like, there is an opportunity to be able to show and hide correctness from the teacher before you start the session, and that's a before or after session, or it's a parameter you set before you start the polling session. You can choose to hide the correct responses to the students. Again, have the ability to annotate. I'm trying to do this with a mouse instead of with my finger on an iPad, but you get the idea. Those could be replicated over that. Now you're saying, you know what? We're not seeing those graphics down here at the student level. That's right, you're not yet. We've been trying to address bandwidth issues to not burn down anybody's network when graphics start flowing over to the student devices. But here in the next few weeks, we believe we've got that taking care of that issue, and we should be able to start pushing that over, and you'll be able to see some of these same graphics pushed down to the student devices as well. It's just displayed in the classroom. So we've got some new things that are on tap and coming, and we're excited about that. So again, this was not just a multiple choice single answer. This was an ordered answer. And it wasn't, it was used in a history scenario. It could be used in a math scenario, science, a lot of applications for ordered answer questions. We'll go to another one here. This one is, again, a multi-response, not ordered response, but it's choose all that apply. So I'll go over here and show you what we've got going on here. Now it doesn't matter the order that I choose. I just need to be able to choose them, all the ones. that are there. And I got partial credit on that because I chose one of the branches that wasn't quite correct. I got 2 of them right, but I missed that 3rd one in there. So I got a partial in there. So again, and I'll go ahead and get this done on the other one here. There we go. All of our students have responded now. And again, we have that ability to annotate over the top. And this was multiple choice, multi-answer. And then, of course, our last one here, what was Abraham Lincoln's occupation before he became president? And this is a ability to type in whatever you want. Oh, didn't get it right there. So let's go back over here and see what our responses are. Everybody's responded. If we kick this open, we actually see what we have. Fence splitter, lawyer, and rail splitter. Well, 2 of our students were on the same kind of wavelength there, and so we might call on those students to find out, what were you thinking? Why did you say rail splitter or fence splitter in that process? So you get the idea of how you can go through this. And let's say you decide, I don't want this next question. I want to skip it. And I don't need that one either. I'm going to skip that one, and we're going to skip that one, but we do want to play that one. This would be handy. All right. An instructor can use what type of device to launch a polling session when all participants are using virtual responders? And you would have the opportunity to respond to these. And essentially the answer here is everything but E. There are dedicated Convey Insight response pads, but that's not typically the situation when you're in an iPad scenario that you'd be using. So we're not addressing that today, but I can see what my responses are here. And when there's a multiple choice response, it shows you whatever has been selected when you have multiple response options in there. So you can see those done that way. It's presented the same way over here. So I could choose all these. Windows PC, Mac, iPad, Galaxy tablet, all of those can be used to launch a polling session when they're in there. And it looks like I need to update my answer key for that question. So you get the idea. I've got a preview as an instructor. If I really want to bail out of this and I don't have the right questions I want, I can still go up here to my question pool, and I can change my question order entirely while I'm in the middle of polling. I can see all the questions that are coming. I can re-poll questions, reselect them. I've got full control over the order and cadence of doing this group-paced testing. Let's say I want to follow up, though. The important thing is I want to follow up and talk about this. So I'm going to ask an impromptu question, and I'm going to do a true-false impromptu question here. And so I've got a blank thing. The responder simply says this: the student interface is true or false. I'm ready to ask a question. So I'm going to go ahead and present a question. Now, if I'm using the viewer application, it's, again, blank, ready and waiting. We can say the teacher, my mouse drawing skills. I'm going to abbreviate teacher, can use an iPad. Like I should have been doing today. Question mark, true or false? And of course, everybody can go ahead and key their answers in. And you'll notice over here on the student side, if I hit true and submit on an impromptu question, there's no correctness associated with it. So I simply get a submitted. It lets the student know, hey, we got your answer. We don't have anything to tell you whether it's right or wrong. And it would look the same way if you turned correctness off. Just to the student, their answer would simply say submitted, just exactly like that if you chose not to show correctness. To remind myself what I answered or to assign a correctness to this question, I can do that. I can tag it here so I can remember what I asked. Teacher can use iPad. Yes, and I'm going to save it. All right, and so now I've saved that, and if I want to, I can just go right into my next question in the queue there, and we could answer another question in that same process. Well, this is a handy one. What type of data is Convey Insight storing on managing on the cloud? Well, it's quite helpful to know. We've got, as I mentioned, all that roster information is on the cloud. And of course, you've been looking at questions and playlists, which have been managed on the cloud. What we're getting ready to go take a look at is that response data. When we get done here with this question, all of this response data is stored on the cloud, and it's easily available 24/7 for teachers to go access that information whenever they want. So they can get at this whether they're at home or at school. It doesn't matter. They don't have an application that's been installed on a particular device that they can only access from that device. So again, if you're viewing this in class, everybody's looking at the same shared screen in class, everybody can see what the annotations are in there. So we're done here. We've got the idea of answering the questions. You can see that under impromptu, you've got multiple choice single answer, multiple choice multiple answer, the ordered answer, the true false, fill in the blank. You also have opinion questions, agree, disagree, and you have a completed true. That question is, you have a task that you want students to perform that doesn't involve a response device, whether it be physical or the iPad or some other tablet. So you ask them to execute that. You want them to type a paragraph. You want them to, if you're in an art class, you want them to sketch out something. And when they're done, simply enter completed true. And that way the teacher knows that everybody has completed the assigned task without having to say, is everybody done? Is everybody done? Is everybody done? They get a no. Everybody's done when everybody responds. So just a way, again, a little classroom management tool there for you. So we're going to go ahead and stop polling. You'll notice that on the student response device, it now says closed to there. You can't respond to any more sessions. This was a group-paced or teacher-paced session. And I'm going to go ahead and end the session. And when I end the session, I have a chance to name it here. And so this would be iPad with Convey Insight demo. And it defaults it to the simply classroom ID name. And we'll go ahead and publish those results. There was a discard button there. Don't know if you noticed it or not. That discard button, if you're simply, it allows you to just discard those results. Notice their session publishing is succeeded up here. So that's good. We've saved those results out to the web, and we're good to go. If I wanted to, I could change my rosters now. I could change a new set of class questions, ask a different style of question. I could do instructor mode or student-paced mode. Here's that correctness, show, hide, allow. All of those options are there for you as well. So those are options that you can select. Right now, though, we're going to go out of this. We've looked at the view. Of course, we've looked at the answer from the student perspective. We just finished with the ask pane. We're going to go into the insight panel, and that is our dashboard, we call it, which is over here. I've got it loaded up already. And so this is our Convey Insight dashboard. And this is where the teacher and the administrators of the organization, but primarily teachers, are going to access rosters, access questions and playlists, and access their session data. So you can see those all across the top right here to be able to take a look at that. We'll take a look at the session data first. I can kick in and take a look at it here. Here's that session we just did. It's got basic date and time on it. I can kick it down here. I can see the all the students listed out. I've got a handy summary of the percent correct they did. If I want, I can take a quick chart look and see how they did. If there was any differences, I can filter these columns by student. I can sort them. I can change which columns I want to show out here. All of these are this can be filtered from each column, so I can have this data look any way I want. I can export it. Boom, comes right out to a CSV file if I want to. That way, very simple to look at. And I've got some built-in report options over here. I can look at performance by student. And so here's this particular student, Anonymous 121. Here was the playlist. I used a couple different playlists, and this was the iPad with Convey Insight demo. Here's all the questions that were asked, and here's how that student did and their overall score on that test. So it's all, boom, right there for you. And that's done at a per student level. If I came up here and I did that by student at the parent level, you notice that I've got all my students right here. And so I've got the ability to look in immediately at all of the students. And this is not so much a look, I mean it is a look, but it allows you to print from here. So you can print these and hand these right out to students, tells them exactly what they got on every question in there. Just an easy way to do it. So it's more of an ability to get a report out into somebody's hands. It's probably, I think it's more efficient to be able to look at the data by question when you know, or in the tabular format here, as opposed to the reports, but you've got it both ways. So we give it to you in both reports as well as the ability to export in CSV at multiple levels. So you can have the data 6 or 7 different ways you can look at it. You can filter, you can organize, a lot of different options for you to look at that. Again, I can get a report on this particular question, and this is a question, and it shows how each student answered it. And then there is one more option up here at the report level. The question details kicks out, and it shows a over here, you'll notice that student 121, the correct answer was C. Here was which president has been born on July 4th. The correct answer was C. Your answer was C. If it had a learning objective like a standard, it would be assigned right there. So you get to be able to chance to look at all of that information, and you could print this, and you would have a report to hand out to every student or to their parents, and you would say, hey, this is why they got the grade they did. Here's their last test they did. You can see every question, what the answer was, what they put in. It's all right there for you. So that's the data. It's up there for you anytime, and of course the teacher can only access his or her data. Rosters, though. Rosters are open. Everybody can see the rosters because there may be a student sitting in your classroom that moved today, and they're not there in your roster. So let's look up all the teachers here. And here I am right here, and I've got 3 rosters. And let's say that we were using the celebrity roster. Let's say I've got my celebrity class. All my people are sitting there in class, and in the midst of all of my people that are sitting there in class, I realize that John Wayne has shown up in class, and he's not on my roster. He can't sign in. That's a problem. So I can simply log in here and look up Mr. Wayne. Ah, there he is. I can find him. I can grab him, drag him over, and I can put Mr. Wayne into my class. There he is. Boom. And when I go to my rosters, John Wayne will be added into, if I'm back over here in my ask scenario here, then John Wayne can show up in my celebrity roster over here. And it didn't sort him out that way, so I'd have to come back in. Oh, there he was. He was at the top. I didn't know where he was. Nope. Wrong roster. There he is at the top. So he's in there. Boom, just like that. So it's that simple to put a student in. It makes it very, very easy for the teachers to be able to manage their rosters. And of course, if there's an extra student in the roster who's not present in the room, it doesn't matter because that student's not going to log in. As an administrator, you have the ability to import rosters, and we have roster templates. Everything's explained over here on how to do that, or we can help you with that process. Also in the Explore and Edit section, if you get to here and you're not exactly sure what to do, there's a help button over here, and it actually downloads a carousel help section here and walks you through all of the help contextually within the field. You'll notice that your roster help is down here, and so it's all right there conveniently accessible for you. All right, last big thing to take a look at, of course, is Question Playlists and Explorer. So we're going to come over here and take a look at this. And here's all of my playlists that I've got access to. And these are playlists from everybody in your organization. Okay, these are not just playlists that are created by me. They are all of them. Now, if I want to see just mine, I can filter that out. I can just look at mine right here, and it'll just filter out my playlists in that process. So here's just mine. You notice several of them disappeared in there. If I clear that out, I get some more playlists that start showing up here. Yeah, lots more playlists. So I have a way to look at just what I've built and not everything that others have built as well. If I want to see what questions are in a playlist, I just list those playlist questions. And here they are right here on the right. So these are questions on the right, playlists are on the left. And I can take a look at that. And if I wanted to create a new question and add it in here, let me see, we'll do my DC Moore one. We'll open this as the playlist of interest. We'll list the questions here. I don't know all exactly what I've got in here, but I'm going to add a new question. So here's my question editor. It comes up right here. I can choose what I want. I'm going to enter the question body. I've got a little editor here. Simple to do that. This is a new question. How many playlists can a teacher have? And we're going to tag it number of playlists. And I'm going to add some answer options here. And we're going to say 1, 2, 4, 8, and unlimited. And we're going to save and close. So boom, we have a new question that gets added in here. So my question gets put in, and I can mess with it however I want. It's in there, and I can go on with that. If I want to edit one of my past questions, I can come in, I can take a look at it, and how many options do I have when editing? 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a little question. I can see how it's going to present right here. So I can make all these changes, and again, I can add pictures in here. I can put hyperlinks in here. I've got basically carte blanche to do what I want in this section in here. So lots of different things to do in the editor. It's very simple, very easy to bang in, save and new. You can just walk through those however you want to create those questions in there and make it very easy. If you are simply wanting to enter an answer key, maybe you've got a test that you want to do, this is the answer key view, and it allows you to just simply bang in your answer keys and just boom, 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 and just really get it going. So that makes it very simple too, and you can set them in a certain sequence if you want, so they always play in a given order within that particular playlist. So lots of different options for you to be able to do that. You've got score value. You can assign a standard to it. Lots of different ways that you can tag up your questions here and ready to go. And you can add them. When you make a playlist of interest, then you can add a question. Right now it's in that playlist. We could remove it from that playlist if we want to. And it tells you where it's used in the question here. It tells you the style, the points, the correct answer. If it has a standard, that's listed. What its tag is listed. If it has a sequence, and then it tells you what playlist it's been used. So lots of information there, and you can go through and edit all of that. The great thing is you can favorite playlists, and that helps them show up easier when you're accessing them to source them, when you're getting ready to actually use them. You've also got the ability to use, as I said earlier, playlists from anybody in your organization. So if somebody wants to create a playlist on bullying, or there's something that the students need to answer on an upcoming testing process, somebody can create that essentially, and it's there for everybody to be able to access. So it makes it very easy to share content among your teachers and students. So yeah, that's the basics of it. We could spend a lot more time going through it, but it's not terribly difficult to access. This is the dashboard view again, and then we looked over at the viewer. We had a look at the student responder, and then of course we spent time in the teacher's control polling application right there. So we're going to bounce back over to the presentation here and just hit a couple of the high points here. Number one, no app. No app to install, manage, have to wrestle around with. It's a web-based application. So as long as your teachers and students have access to the internet, we're good to go. They can access it from any browser-equipped device, and the student login is tied to their ID number. Again, it doesn't matter which device they use. If you've got deployed iPads, they don't have to have a certain iPad. They just get online, access it with their particular classroom ID supplied by Convey Insight and their student ID. Dukane also has iPad carts, iPad cases, iPad stands. If you have any interest in that, Dukane Audiovisual has full lines of those and lots of good things. If you're in an iPad scenario and want to check that out, that's DukaneAV.com, DukaneAV.com. Of course, you can also go to ConveyClassrooms.com up there at the top, find out more information about Convey Insight. Pricing, very simply, it's $2.50 per student per year for K-12. For higher ed, it's $5 per student per year. Pretty straightforward, pretty inexpensive. It's not going to break your bank. Training is available. If you would like to know about training options, you can certainly contact us. We think it's simple enough. Most people can figure out how to use it. But if you want dedicated training, absolutely. More than happy to do that, help you implement effective usage that way. All right, that is it for today's presentation, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it back to there and turn it back over if there's any other questions, any types of things that are out there. I see one about mixing iPads and other kinds of devices. As I think I mentioned it earlier. This isn't just iPads. It can be iPads, iPod Touch, Kindles. The Barnes & Noble Nook can be used for the student device. Well, we've tested that on the teacher side, but it ought to work. Chromebooks, lots of different types of devices can be used for this. So we certainly titled it using iPads, but you can use just about any type of browser-equipped device as long as the browser is relatively modern. So it's got to be a recent browser to take advantage of the great technology available there. All right, I think that's it. Thanks for participating today. We appreciate you being here and being on board with us here at Convey Insight and Dukane. For the whole team, this is Chad Moore, and we look forward to catching you later. Bye-bye.